Most people around the world ask the same question every year: why do prices keep rising? Not during crises, not during economic booms, but always like a heartbeat that never stops. You notice your rent increasing, even when your neighborhood looks exactly the same as last year. You pay more for groceries, even though nothing about your lifestyle has changed. You buy the same product from the same brand with the same ingredients. Yet the price quietly climbs. And what feels even stranger is this: prices rise even when the economy doesn't grow, even when companies report lower sales, even when businesses slow down, even when life itself feels stuck in place. So if nothing improves, why do prices continue rising as if everything is booming? The traditional explanation is simple: inflation. But that answer is incomplete, because in many countries, prices rise faster than inflation. They rise even when demand is weak. They rise even when companies aren't expanding. Something else is happening. Modern economies have quietly entered a new era, an era where prices can rise even when growth disappears. Not because products are improving, not because productivity is increasing, but because the system requires prices to rise just to prevent itself from collapsing. You're not paying for new value. You're paying for a structure that survives only through constant upward pressure. And once you recognize this pattern, you begin to see the economy not as a neutral environment, but as a series of incentives, pressures, and hidden forces directing every price you pay. This is the mystery we begin to decode. To understand why prices keep rising, we must uncover the forces that operate behind the scenes. Let's begin with one of the most overlooked realities of modern markets. Corporations raise prices simply because they can. In many key industries, real competition has quietly disappeared. A small group of powerful corporations now dominate food, energy, medicine, transportation, housing, almost everything a society needs. When competition fades, companies no longer set prices based on cost. They set prices based on what people are forced to pay. If your electricity bill rises, you cannot switch providers. If your rent increases, you cannot build another apartment. If groceries become more expensive, you cannot grow your own food. This lack of choice gives corporations a quiet power. They can raise prices even when demand is weak, even when sales do not improve, even when the economy stops growing. But this is only the first force, because behind the scenes, there is another mechanism pushing prices upward, one that most people never notice. A mechanism tied to debts, supply chains, market incentives, and the expectation that prices must rise to keep the financial system from slowing down. In other words, the system needs prices to increase, not because products become better, but because the structure around them cannot stand still. And this hidden design is what shapes the world you experience every day. When prices rise faster than wages, something subtle but powerful happens. Your income begins to lose its meaning. Most people feel this long before they understand it. You go to the store and realize the money you once depended on no longer buys the same items. Your paycheck arrives, but it stretches less every month. You work the same hours, give the same effort, yet somehow you fall further behind. This is the silent effect of an economy where prices rise, but growth does not. It's not just inflation, it's a structural imbalance that shifts the burden from corporations and institutions onto ordinary people. When prices rise independently of economic progress, consumers pay not for value, but for the survival of the system itself. You pay more even when nothing improves. Not the product, not the service, not the experience. This silent erosion is what economists call real income decline. It means that even if you receive a raise, you may still be poorer in practical terms. A higher salary doesn't help when the cost of living grows faster than your ability to earn. Savings suffer too. Money that sits in a bank account loses purchasing power each year. What could buy a week of groceries now buys only a few days. What once felt like financial security slowly becomes uncertainty. This effect is hardest on the middle class. People with little money have nothing to lose. People with great wealth have assets that rise with prices. But ordinary working people, those who save, plan, and try to secure their future, are caught in the middle of a system that quietly moves the goalposts year after year. The rise in prices isn't just an inconvenience, it's a transfer of power from consumers to corporations, from individuals to institutions, from effort to structure. And this shift continues because the system is designed to support upward pricing, even when the economy itself is not growing. But to understand why this design exists, we must look beyond personal finances and examine the architecture that holds the modern economy together. At this point, a difficult truth becomes clear. Prices do not rise because life becomes better. Prices rise because the system needs them to. In modern economies, growth is not optional, it is demanded. Governments expect it, banks rely on it, corporations depend on it. And the entire financial structure is built on the assumption that next year must always be bigger than the last. But when real growth slows, when productivity stagnates, when innovation plateaus, when consumer demand weakens, the system does not stop and reset. It simply pushes prices upward to compensate. This is why periods of low growth still come with high costs. It is not a failure of policy. It is part of the design. Governments benefit when prices rise because inflation reduces the real value of their debt. Corporations benefit when prices rise because profit margins expand even if sales do not. Banks benefit because rising prices encourage borrowing and discourage saving. And financial markets benefit because revenue and stock valuations grow, even without real progress. Meanwhile, individuals face the consequences. They pay more for the same life they had yesterday. They stretch their budgets to maintain stability. They sacrifice their savings, their comfort, and sometimes even their health just to keep up. This dynamic has a name: price growth decoupling. It means prices no longer reflect the real economy. They reflect the needs of the system itself. The hardest part is that this process is nearly invisible. It doesn't show up in headlines. It doesn't appear on receipts. It doesn't come with a warning, but you feel it in every bill, in every purchase, in every moment where you wonder why life seems to cost more even though nothing seems to improve. This is not an accident. It is not temporary. It is not a glitch. It is the quiet reality of a financial structure that requires prices to rise in order to avoid collapse. Understanding this truth will not change the system, but it will change how you navigate it. It will give you clarity, awareness, and the ability to plan for a world where prices move not because of progress, but because the system demands it. And now, a deeper question emerges. If prices rise, even without growth, what happens when growth disappears completely? That is the question the next video will explore.